An unexpected marriage proposal shattered every boundary between them. The two little lives now faced the risk of disappearing forever. A new witness appeared, bringing with them a secret that had never been revealed. And for the very first time, Jiang Yu completely lost control. The story begins right here. While Sui'an was still flustered over the photo he had accidentally sent, the client arrived earlier than expected. Jiang Yu calmly welcomed President Liu and quietly messaged Sui'an, asking him to return to the office. But the moment Jiang Yu saw the photo, his usual composure instantly disappeared. He quickly closed his laptop, trying to hide his rare moment of embarrassment. Just then Sui'an rushed into the meeting room, apologizing for being late. Fortunately, the photo had been recalled before things could get any worse. Refusing to let his emotions interfere with work, Sui'an quickly began the presentation. He clearly explained the exhibition proposal, covering everything from the concept and layout to cost-effective solutions. President Liu nodded repeatedly, impressed by Sui'an's professionalism. The meeting concluded successfully, and the project was officially approved. After the meeting, Sui'an sincerely thanked Jiang Yu for helping him so many times. Feeling a little embarrassed, he even invited Jiang Yu to dinner as a way of expressing his gratitude. Jiang Yu simply nodded in agreement, and the atmosphere between them noticeably softened. After work, the two of them walked toward the elevator together. Just as the elevator doors closed, the lights suddenly began to flicker. A violent jolt shook the cabin, and the elevator came to an abrupt stop between floors. Jiang Yu immediately contacted the building manager, doing his best to stay calm while waiting for help. But the one who was truly struggling was Sui'an. The confined space made his breathing become faster and faster. Jiang Yu immediately realized that this was more than ordinary panic. He stepped closer, intending to support him. But the moment Jiang Yu sensed Sui'an's aura, his own expression began to change. Trapped together inside the cramped elevator, the atmosphere grew heavier with every passing second. Without realizing it, Sui'an took another step toward Jiang Yu, searching for a sense of security. Jiang Yu instinctively stepped back, trying to keep his distance as though he were suppressing something. And when Sui'an clutched his chest as the discomfort intensified, they both realized what was about to happen would be far more serious than a simple power outage. The elevator doors finally opened, but the distance between Sui'an and Jiang Yu felt greater than ever. Even when Jiang Yu reached out to help, Sui'an immediately stepped away. A single brief remark left them both speechless. Sui'an turned and walked away, while Jiang Yu could only watch him leave. But what hurt Sui'an the most was not what had happened in the elevator. Memories from years ago suddenly came rushing back. Back then, he had lost both a competition opportunity and an important scholarship. It was not because he lacked ability, but because someone else had been chosen instead. Soon after, he accidentally overheard a conversation he was never meant to hear. People were saying that Jiang Yu had once refused to participate simply because he would have had to work with him. From that moment on, Sui'an believed he was the person Jiang Yu disliked the most. He carried that belief with him for years, and no one ever explained the truth. Returning to the present, Sui'an pushed those emotions aside and called his mother. He only shared the good news, hiding all the pressure and exhaustion he faced in the city. His mother simply worried that he was working too hard and reminded him to take care of himself. The call ended, but the weight in Sui'an's heart only grew heavier. At the same time, Jiang Yu returned home to see his grandfather. His grandfather immediately noticed that something was troubling him. For the first time, Jiang Yu admitted that he no longer understood his own feelings. He did not like Sui'an's aura, yet he wanted even less to see him walk away. His grandfather simply smiled, as if he had already understood everything. The next morning, the two met again at the office as though nothing had happened. Sui'an calmly discussed work with everyone as usual, but Jiang Yu quietly noticed something strange. Sui'an's familiar scent had completely disappeared. Its absence unsettled Jiang Yu even more than being close to him had. Before Sui'an could leave, Jiang Yu called out to him. He wanted to apologize for everything that had happened in the elevator, but Sui'an calmly interrupted him and suggested that they should keep their distance. Jiang Yu could only stand there in silence, watching as the distance between them seemed to grow even wider once again. While everyone else stayed busy with the project, Jiang Yu could no longer hide how much his condition was deteriorating. He continued leading the meeting as usual, but his face grew noticeably paler. His co-workers quickly realized something was wrong. At the same time, Zhou Xinjing received devastating news that seemed to turn his world upside down. His medical results showed that his condition had reached a critical stage. Even so, Zhou Xinjing quietly kept it to himself and carried on with his work. Back at the office, Sui'an was surrounded by co-workers asking about the project's bonus. From a distance, Jiang Yu could only watch him in silence. His body longed for that familiar aura more than ever before, yet he was the very person who had tried to stay away from it. Jiang Yu finally turned and walked away, blaming himself for his own inner conflict. At that very moment, somewhere else, the two mysterious eggs suddenly developed their first cracks. Sui'an suddenly realized that Jiang Yu had disappeared. He immediately began searching throughout the building. A faint sound made him stop in his tracks. Jiang Yu had collapsed onto the floor, barely conscious. Sui'an rushed over to support him. Jiang Yu managed to whisper only a single word. aura. Even in his weakened state, he recognized that the person in front of him was Sui'an. He suddenly reached out and grabbed Sui'an's hand, as if holding on to his last bit of awareness. In an instant, they both lost their balance and fell close together. Sui'an tried to stay calm, repeatedly calling Jiang Yu's name, hoping to wake him, but Jiang Yu's eyes remained fixed on the patch at the back of Sui'an's neck, and he slowly reached toward it. And just as Sui'an nervously asked what Jiang Yu was about to do, everything slipped beyond their control once again. Jiang Yu suddenly pulled Sui'an into a tight embrace, but Sui'an's first instinct was to push him away. After so many misunderstandings had built up over the years, Sui'an could no longer bring himself to trust such an unexpected gesture. Jiang Yu could only lower his head and apologize, while Sui'an informed him that President Zhou had already left and told him to make his own arrangements. Even after turning to leave, Sui'an could not bring himself to stop worrying. He remembered Jiang Yu's grandfather warning him about how dangerous things could become if a serpent spirit lost control for too long. After a few seconds of hesitation, Sui'an turned back, only to find Jiang Yu in his true form. He immediately locked the storage room door to keep anyone else from discovering the secret. Sui'an stepped forward and decided to use his own aura to help Jiang Yu regain control, but Jiang Yu still tried to refuse because he did not want to put Sui'an in danger. Sui'an refused to let him struggle alone and urged Jiang Yu to calm himself as quickly as possible. At that moment, Jiang Yu's serpent tail instinctively wrapped around Sui'an, a sign that the situation had gone beyond anyone's expectations. With Sui'an's help, Jiang Yu's condition gradually became more stable, but in the process, the distance between them unintentionally grew closer than either of them expected. Sui'an realized that his heartbeat was becoming more and more unsteady, while the atmosphere in the room turned strangely tense. In a hoarse voice, Jiang Yu quietly asked for a little more time to fully regain control of himself. At the most tense moment, Sui'an's phone suddenly rang. President Zhou called to ask about the project's progress, forcing Sui'an to keep his voice as calm as possible. The two quickly composed themselves to avoid arousing anyone's suspicion. President Zhou explained that something had come up on his end and told them there was no need to come over just yet. The call ended, but the air in the room remained heavy and difficult to breathe. Jiang Yu honestly admitted that he still had not fully regained control of his condition. Sui'an could only let out a helpless sigh because he was not as calm as he had been before, either. The distance between them closed once again, but this time it was no longer because of misunderstandings. Jiang Yu quietly thanked Sui'an for not abandoning him at his most vulnerable moment. For the first time, Sui'an realized that behind Jiang Yu's cold exterior was someone who had always tried to protect others. And just when everything seemed to have settled down, they both understood that from this moment on, their relationship could never return to what it once was. While inspecting the construction site, Zhou Xingjing noticed that part of the project had deviated from the blueprint by only a few centimeters, yet it had been deliberately ignored. He immediately ordered all work to stop and demanded that the issue be corrected that same day. Just then, a heavy stack of building materials suddenly fell from above. A man rushed forward and shielded Zhou Xingjing, saving him at the last second. Even though he was injured, the stranger refused to go to the hospital, leaving Zhou Xing even more surprised. Zhou Xing immediately tightened the site's safety procedures, ordering a full safety review and holding everyone accountable. Before leaving, he handed the man his business card and told him to get in touch if he experienced any health problems. Once no one was watching, the mysterious man suddenly transformed into a tiny squirrel and disappeared. That evening, Jiang Yu drove Sui'an home after a long day. Before leaving, Jiang Yu simply smiled and said, "See you tomorrow." Sui'an replied, but deep down, he could not stop thinking about how different Jiang Yu's gaze had been that day. The more he thought about it, the less he understood why he had started paying attention to someone who had once been his greatest rival. An old memory suddenly resurfaced. Back in college, Jiang Yu had always been admired for his talent and sense of fairness. Even during class gatherings, he quietly looked out for everyone without drawing attention to himself. But at the time, Sui'an kept his distance, convinced it was all just a flawless image. After dinner, Sui'an suddenly felt unwell and hurried to the restroom. At that moment, the parent of one of his tutoring students called to cancel their tutoring arrangement. An important source of income disappeared after nothing more than a brief phone call. Sui'an tried to remain calm, but the financial pressure weighing on him only grew heavier. Jiang Yu happened to learn what had happened and offered to help if Sui'an needed anything, but Sui'an immediately turned him down because he did not want to owe him anything. Deep down, he still believed Jiang Yu's kindness was nothing more than pity. That night, Jiang Yu fell asleep with thoughts of Sui'an still lingering in his mind. In his dream, all that remained were Sui'an's name and the wish to be closer to him. When Jiang Yu finally woke up, he realized his feelings had grown far beyond ordinary concern, and for the first time, he no longer wanted to keep those feelings hidden. While Sui'an still believed they were nothing more than reluctant co-workers, Jiang Yu's heart had already made a very different decision. After the strange dream, Sui'an could only blame himself for the increasingly confusing thoughts he was having about Jiang Yu. As soon as he arrived at the office, a delivery addressed to him was already waiting. The courier confirmed that the sender was Jiang Yu. Sui'an froze in shock as he stood there holding a bouquet of flowers under the curious eyes of the entire office. He quickly hid the gift, hoping the whole situation would end as soon as possible. But when he stepped into his office, he found even more carefully prepared gifts waiting for him. At that moment, Jiang Yu appeared as if nothing unusual had happened. Without hesitation, Jiang Yu straightforwardly asked Sui'an to marry him. His reason was simple: to build a family together and raise the two children with care. Sui'an was completely stunned and immediately turned him down. To him, the proposal felt more like a practical decision than a heartfelt confession. Even though Jiang Yu insisted he had thought it through carefully, the distance between them remained unchanged. The atmosphere in the office quickly became tense, and everyone could tell that something had happened. Sui'an asked his assistant to return every single gift to Jiang Yu, but the assistant accidentally revealed that everyone at the office had long believed the two of them were a couple. The story about the watch from years ago left Sui'an both embarrassed and speechless. Even so, he remained determined to return all of the gifts. Meanwhile, Jiang Yu seemed unusually distracted while working with Zhou Zijing. Zhou Zijing quickly noticed his subordinate's emotions and reminded him not to let personal matters interfere with work. That single remark was enough for Jiang Yu to realize that his secret was becoming harder to hide. His thoughts drifted back to his very first day at the company, when the first thing he had asked was where Sui'an was. After that conversation, Jiang Yu quietly returned to his work. Just then, Zhou Zijing received a phone call from Lu Yan, the man who had once saved him at the construction site. Learning that Lu Yan urgently needed a job, Zhou Zijing immediately invited him to join the company as his assistant. A new relationship had just begun, while the old secrets remained buried, and in a quiet corner of the room, the two mysterious eggs developed another fresh crack. That night, Sui'an dreamed of two children crying non-stop as they called out to him. When he turned around, the two children had become two eggs resting in Jiang Yu's arms. Jiang Yu asked a single question that left Sui'an speechless. "Are you really going to leave both me and the two children behind?" Sui'an jolted awake, but the dream stayed with him throughout the entire day. On the train to work, the sight of a small child unexpectedly reminded him of the strange dream. He pushed the thoughts aside, telling himself it had all been nothing more than an unexpected accident. After arriving at the office, President Zhou called both Jiang Yu and Sui'an to his office. On the way there, Jiang Yu apologized for proposing so suddenly the day before. He also promised to respect whatever decisions Sui'an made about the future of the two eggs. Ironically, Jiang Yu's calm attitude unsettled Sui'an even more than his earlier persistence. Inside the office, Zhou Zijing introduced the company's new assistant, Lu Yan. Lu Yan was the man who had saved President Zhou at the construction site and had officially joined the company. But the moment Jiang Yu saw Lu Yan, his expression changed instantly. Without any warning, Jiang Yu rushed forward and demanded to know where the two eggs were. Both Sui'an and Zhou Zijing were stunned by his intense reaction. Lu Yan quickly explained that he had only rescued the two eggs from someone else and had never harmed them. Even more frightening, the life force inside the two eggs had almost completely faded. Lu Yan himself had also become a victim after the mysterious figure drained away his energy. Every clue seemed to point toward a hidden force still lurking in the shadows. At that very moment, the two eggs suddenly began to shake violently. Jiang Yu's grandfather examined them before quietly shaking his head. He said that if things continued this way, the two little lives would not survive. There was only one option left to help the eggs hatch before it was too late. But the price of doing so would force Jiang Yu and Sui'an to make an incredibly difficult decision together. Should they do everything they could to save the two eggs, or let everything come to an end? If you were Sui'an, would you do everything you could to save the two mysterious eggs? Or would you let them go to avoid the dangers that lie ahead? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you are enjoying this fantasy BL series filled with mystery, supernatural twists, and emotional moments, do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next chapter.